show is if Special Agent Oso was competent. Some of these action sequences made me gasp. This is no joke, every episode from season 2 onward. What a great day of saving the animals. I am over an active volcano and the lava is inching closer. It's been an honor serving with you all. Woo, that was a close one. Who wants to play ping pong? I'm not exaggerating, even a little.
Your video tipping this up. I do.
Butt lovers, to your stations. Welcome back to the Lore series where we explore shows no one else on this stinky site is brave enough to. Today we are covering Octonauts, and this has by far been the most requested show in Lore history. Everyone wanted to see Octonauts, and now I get it. I completely get it. Firstly, thank you so much to Peachy Draws on Instagram for letting me use this amazing art as makeup inspo for this episode. I love it so much. And as always, before we start, just to make everything abundantly clear, although the shows I cover in this series are intended for kids, my videos are not intended for kids. This may be difficult for you to grasp, but you don't have to grasp it, okay? Let it go. Just let it go. The Octonauts television show was inspired by the books published in 2006 by the duo Miyomi. The show has been airing from 2010 to the present. Usually I wait to cover shows until everything's been released, but who knows when they're airing season 5. The rollout for the show has truly been a nightmare. This was caused by a fairly recent production company switch, but the fans are pissed. They released a whole spin-off show before the last season of the main series aired. According to Wikipedia, they aired the first 5 episodes of season 5 in the UK before it just stopped for no reason. On top of that, the first 4 seasons of the Octonauts original series is leaving Netflix on April 30th. But the Octonauts spin-off and many of the specials are Netflix originals, so they're staying. Good luck trying to watch anything in order. Not that they even had the original series in order, but still. Also, they're crazy for this. Netflix, watch all you want. Last day to watch, April 30th. Aww.
Let's hear about the balls.
The team consists of Captain Barnacles, the polar bear leader, Quasi the cat, some renditions call him Quasi the kitten, but this is a fully grown man and a pirate, don't patronize him. Peso, the penguin medic, Tweak, the rabbit mechanic, Dashi is a photographer and programmer, Dr. Shellington, an otter and a biologist, Professor Inkling, a Dumbo octopus, although they should call him a smarto octopus, come on now, and the Vegimals. The leader of these vegetable fish hybrids is named Tunip. Much more on them later. Captain Barnacles has polar bear strength and a heart of goddamn gold. In season 2, episode 19, even though the episode was about manatees, an animal I absolutely adore, peep my earrings, I mostly focused on the bravery and selflessness of our fearless leader, Captain Barnacles. Everyone get on your goddamn feet and pay respect. This hero led a mission all the while he got struck by lightning, eaten by a clam, stung by a jellyfish, was hunted by barracudas, almost ran out of air, and not once did he ask for help. Instead, he focused on the safety of the manatees. And when he ended up telling Peso and Quasi, they understandably were like, holy shit, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you good? To which he dismissed the severity of danger he was in by instead focusing on how proud he was of his crew and how happy he is that the manatees are safe. This clip sums it up the best.
Captain, are you all right? I'm fine. How are you?
Get on your goddamn feet! Quasi is seen as very reckless, which sometimes gets him into trouble, but it's also an amazing quality because he is the first to jump headfirst into danger to help someone. No questions asked, no hesitation. In fact, he'd dive headfirst into trouble anyway. Except with spiders. He's very scared of spiders. He is a pirate, and despite wearing an eye patch, both of his eyes are intact and working perfectly. Although he does have a chunk taken out of his ear. He always tells outlandish stories of sea monsters, which always end up being half-truths when we see the actual animal the story was inspired by. Many fans of the show think Quasi is trans because of a typo in old books that uses she/her pronouns for Quasi. Tweets from the Octonauts Twitter and Miyomi Twitter confirm that this was just a typo, but they never shut it down and leave it open to fan interpretation, which I love. Now here's where I'm gonna get shit. Peso is Latino and the UK version is not superior. Don't make me side with America. Do not make me side. People trash the US dub left and right, but I much prefer this.
I'm a medic. I help any creature who is hurt or sick.
Then
I'm a medic. I help any creature who is hurt or sick.
The show has enough British people. His name is Peso, not Pound. So many people say the UK version is the original version, and while I do not give a shit, need I remind you the television show is based on the books, which were released in America first. Tweak is an inventor rabbit with a southern drawl.
If I had a nickel for every time I
Encountered an inventor rabbit with a southern drawl.
I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right?
Throw Sandy Cheeks in there and it's game over. What is the name of the southern girl inventor trope specifically? The closest thing I could find on TV tropes is Southern Fried Genius, which is supposed to be a subverting of expectations thing. Anyway, Tweak's a badass and she goes all the way back. She's one of the OGs, we'll talk about that later. Dr. Shellington and Professor Inkling always come through with the most animal facts. And now, I will too. This show taught me so much. Like, did you know that Yeti crabs smell bad? As much as I love this show, I am so glad I'm not a marine animal. I feel like there aren't that many good smells down there. Fish. Fish farts. Anyway, I wish you could turn on smell-o-vision for this next part, but let me guide you through some of my new favorites. Skylar Clean Beauty's Vanilla Sky, Dolce & Gabbana's Light Blue, The Seven Virtues Cherry Ambition, and Malot's Spirit. Vanilla Sky is cozy and warm. It is joy and laughter in the small things. It's cuddling by a fire in a sweater. Cappuccino, vanilla, and caramelized cedar. Simple, and yet you can't go wrong. Light Blue is a different kind of warmth. It brings me to the beach. It's lemon, but it's also floral. It's summer. Sophisticated without being a snob. I gotta say though, as much as I love those first two, my all-time favorites is a tie between The Seven Virtues Cherry Ambition and Malot's Spirit. These two pack a punch. Cherry Ambition is unsurprisingly very cherry. It is a very romantic smell. I imagine myself skipping through a garden and writing poetry. Spirit, on the other hand, I'm in a floor-length gown at a fancy ball. I'm drinking a Moscow Mule. I am a woman who needs no one. It is, dare I say, the sexiest smell I've ever smelled. Now, how can you get a good amount of perfume like this for an affordable price? With the sponsor of this video, Scentbird. Scentbird is a perfume subscription service that conveniently ships beautiful fragrances to your door. Scentbird has over 700 fragrances, so there's something for everyone. From people just starting their perfume collection to perfume connoisseurs. So if you're interested in trying Scentbird, use my code Athena55 or use the link below for 55% off at Scentbird. You can get the product for half the price. That's just $8. That's a freaking steal. Again, that's Athena55 for 55% off at Scentbird. Thank you so much to Scentbird for being this video's sponsor. Now back to Octonauts. They let her segue into the sponsor with a joke about fish farts. The brand allowed that? That's cool as fuck, actually. So as I was saying, Dr. Shellington and Professor Inkling always come through with the most animal facts. And other than Shellington leaving HQ more, I really struggled to see how their roles on the team differed, but the books actually offer a lot of clarity on that, and that is the next section, so hold on to your seahorses because we still have to talk about Dashi. Dashi, formerly known as Saucy in earlier editions of the books, it's still a mystery to me. She is somehow both the chillest member of the team and the one with the most jobs. I thought she was the photographer of the group, which is not only a full-time job because they need those photos for research, and she also is ambitious as hell, wanting one of her photos to end up on the cover of National Geographic, but she's also a programmer. She has to teach all these old fucks how to use a computer. Bless her heart. All of that being said, I feel like I've seen more emotional range from the other characters, so I hate to say it because she is only one of 2 girl characters, but at first I completely overlooked her.
I know a thing or two about books, and that's a book.
The listing description for this book set really captures the vibe. It reads, combining the instant appeal of Hello Kitty with the intrepid spirit of Jacques Cousteau, the Octonauts will entertain and delight children, while adults will appreciate the stylish design and subversive humor. I'm so glad someone else mentioned Hello Kitty because I was thinking it the entire time. In the books, Professor Inkling is seen as more of a leader. Some of what he says is total gibberish, and the vibe is way more science fiction than the show, which obviously leans into facts. Actually, the books are barely educational at all. The last one talks about coral reefs, but I would argue they have way more magic. And the art and how it's used is what fully transports us. So you see, we have north, next page, east, south, west. The movement of this makes it feel like we're going on a journey with them. It also utilizes 2 pages of art very well. There are blurbs about each of the characters on the last page, and it explains what Professor Inkling does better than the show ever could. He is the founder of the Octonauts, but he doesn't go on missions often because of his delicate big brain.
Brain blast!
A lot of the more kooky magical shit from the books will come up in conversation later, but first we have to talk about the TV show, because then you'll have a good idea of just how different they are by the time I bring it up next, okay?
Explore! Rescue! Attack!
Every episode starts with establishing the problem, and then most of the time Barnacles will be the one to sound the Octo Alert. The Octo Alert was established from the books. Then they will rescue an animal while learning about them in the process. Most of the time the animal will monologue about what it's good at. I want to meet a creature who doesn't know shit about themselves.
What are you?
I'm Athena.
All right, Athena. I'm a British polar bear with huge claws that can tear your limb from limb. What do you do?
I don't know, I'm just doing my best. Then we have the Creature Report song. This is when, for whatever reason, the Vegimals begin to absolutely throw it back in a dance circle. Shake that asparagus. Ooh, no. Also, we recap what we've learned. The song is always the same, and yet I've never skipped it. I love everything about it. I love how janky the rhymes are sometimes, the unnecessary dance circle, and the actual footage of the animals in our world, which is always such a jump scare from the cartoony style. Here are some other fun observations. Peso the medic, for a good long while, was only seen giving out bandages. All you need is a band-aid and you'll be good as new. He's not gonna make it. I'm right here, I can hear you. But even though bandages are still his signature move, throughout the series we've also seen him use ointment, sunscreen, tweezers for pulling out thorns. He also helped the seahorse give birth, and in season 1, episode 22, The Hermit Crab, we find out that Peso went to medical school.
I feel like a fool questioning his credentials.
In season 2, the stakes get even higher as Peso has to treat an injury on a great white shark who was just trying to eat him. The way they characterized this shark I actually really enjoyed. He had self-awareness and he really respects the Octonauts, but also he's hungry and he can't help it.
Have a Snickers, will ya?
Speaking of higher stakes due to hunger, in season 2, episode 14, leafy sea dragons that were accidentally taken back to the pod when mistaken as kelp almost got chopped up, sauteed, and eaten by Quasi. But luckily they tracked them down using infrared goggles. More importantly, it reminded me how fucking cool leafy sea dragons look. In season 2, episode 17, the Octonauts help a pair of lionfish get back home. These predators try to break free using the escape hatch, causing the octopod to fill up with water and flip upside down. Tweak is swimming against the current towards the button to try and close the octohatch. Captain Barnacles is steering the octopod upside down, and Shellington, Quasi, and Peso are trying to track down the lionfish. All the while, the lionfish are hunting the Vegimals and Peso, as well as the injured fish from the medical bay. One last thing before we move on to tech. Season 3, episode 3. Have you ever heard of a cone snail? Because holy shit, this thing gives me nightmares now. This little fuck shoots out these thorn things, which they call harpoons, which makes them even scarier. And guess what else? The harpoons they shoot are poisonous. The Octonauts are so much better than me because so many of these animals almost killed them, and then they end up giving the most half-assed apology. And they just accept it. Every time, they assure these little terrors, "No worries, friend. If you're ever in trouble again, just call us. What? They're too good for this world." First, let me introduce you to home base, the Octopod. I finally know what this thing is that someone sent me in my P.O. box. The Octopod is their home. They have slides to get to the launch bay, which is where their smaller ships are. The Octopod itself is a ship, but unless they're fleeing from natural disaster, traveling long distances, or they're taking it for repairs, it's usually docked. The four arms of the Octopod with big spears have the Vegimals' garden, the room where they usually play ping pong, and the other two arms have the bedrooms of Barnacles, Dashi, Quasi, and Peso. Tweak's room is in the launch bay, where she's always busy making new modes of transportation for them or tweaking the old ones. I'm gonna be real with you, I don't know where Shellington and Inkling sleep. I think Inkling sleeps in his library, and I'm pretty sure I remember Shellington sleeping in his lab. That leaves one room remaining, the medical bay, where Peso tends to sick or hurt animals. I forgot the kitchen and the headquarters. Fuck. Now let's talk about the Gups. Gup A, I'd say, is used the most frequently. It's seen in the theme song with Peso, Quasi, and Barnacles. It's reliable, but not the most interesting. Gup B is Quasi's favorite, and he's very possessive over it. When Tweak needed to repair it, he's like, "I'm coming with you." Gup B is the fastest Gup, and it's seen getting a lot of modifications throughout the series. In the episode Flying Fish, Tweak added retractable pectoral fins and a tail fin to the Gup B, so it can hop out of the water and glide in the air. And this is why airing order matters, Netflix, you heaping pile of shit. Because why are you trying to show me this feature before Tweak even made it? Quasi also asks Tweak to add an eject button to the Gup B. Tweak repeatedly reminds Quasi to turn off the engine before hitting the eject button, or the Gup B will drive off without about him. He didn't listen, and that's exactly what happens. Gup B is also able to change the paint on the outside to look like tiger shark stripes. A feature that ironically doesn't deter tiger sharks from trying to eat it because they're cannibals.
Damn, nature, you scary.
And Gup C is for towing. In the season 1 episode about the Remipedes, Shellington crashes the Gup D. An ongoing character trait of Shellington's is that he can't drive for shit. In fact, this is not his last crash.
Bruh.
Just an episode after that, Tweak made remotes for the Gups to drive themselves. But somehow Shellington fucked that up too by breaking the remotes. Tweak says she's able to fix the devices in 6 to 8 weeks because she has to order new parts. I'm not sure if humans exist in this world, but if they don't, just imagine that shipping service being ran by more big-headed animals. In this episode, we also see the Gup F for the first time, which is so bare bones they have to drive it around like Flintstones, essentially. Just paddling it around. In the Great Penguin Race special, the Gup A has skis now, so it's turned into a completely different vehicle. I'm not sure if it's ever done that again, because as the series progresses, Tweak makes more ice-specific vehicles, so they wouldn't really have a need for that. In the premiere of season 2, Tweak invented a tentacle suit for Dr. Inkling, and when he wears it, he's able to control the movements of the Octopod. He also claims to be an expert at tentacle wrestling, and not to kink shame the old man, but I advise everyone to not Google that. Do not Google that. Many Gups are introduced in specials, which will get their own section, but guys, there are so many Gups they ran out of letters. The only one we fully know nothing about is Gup N. Everything else has either appeared in the series, has concept art, or had toys released for them. That alone is bonkers to me. You're releasing toys of something that hasn't even been seen in the show yet? That's when you know a show is popular. Also, there's an Octonauts themed Baskin Robbins in Korea. I know I'm filming this in my house, but mentally I'm there. In the season 3 episode Artificial Reef, Tweak is trying to fix the Gup F. Remember the shitty pedaling one? And she also reveals it's the first Gup she ever built. So why'd you start with the letter F? Kinda sounds like you manifested a fat fucking failure. F! According to the wiki, F stood for first, but I still think that's stupid. The Gup F was also destroyed in a hurricane and was only useful after its wreckage because now its base is used as an artificial reef where many creatures live. Maybe the F actually stood for free real estate.
Free real estate.
Let's go back to the Octopod. In the season 1 episode Narwhal, this is the first time we saw Captain Barnacles steer the Octopod manually, because icy water was causing the tech to malfunction. Barnacles exclaimed, "It feels good to get my paws on the ship's steering wheel again." After I watched that, I wrote, I wonder if we'll ever see what the Octopod looked like before all of Tweak's upgrades. Funny I should say that. In the Octopod mystery, the bubble converter for their engine is broken, and Tweak says it will take weeks to build a new one. So she gets the idea that they should go to the old, unused Octopod that has since been turned into an artificial reef. Again? Because there's still a bubble converter there. She said she made the first Octopod before they were even officially Octonauts. The only 3 that knew about this old Octopod were Tweak, obviously she's the one that brought it up, Barnacles, and Professor Inkling, meaning they were the OG team that started the group. This also means that the Octopod didn't have a bare-bones, untechy version. The old Octopod looked exactly the same, it just had a lot of glitches in the system. This show has such a whimsical view of technological innovation, it's such a breath of fresh air in what I would call the Black Mirror era. Like, why the fuck do we have artificial intelligence pretending to be people's girlfriends, when instead we can be inspired by animals with certain evolutionary advantages? The damselfish can see colors we don't, so Tweak invented damselfish vision. Goggles that help them see like damselfish do. Where is that in 2024? Where are my suction cup suits? And my iguana claws crawlers? And look at this. Season 2, there's Octonauts Autobots. Octobots. They actually call it the Octomax suit, but whatever. One more thing. To protect themselves from loud noises, they wore headphones like this. I love cartoon logic. Let's take a small break from tech to talk about family. Before we start, we have to acknowledge that they're each other's found family. Okay? You already fucking know. Season 1, Episode 3, Captain Barnacles and Quasi learn about symbiotic relationships. And although it's never explicitly said, they find out that that's what they have too. They mutually help each other out with their strengths. Quasi's confidence and Barnacle's ability to plan. I love them both so much, I might be ordering plushies after this video is over. Now for the family they have outside of their jobs. In the Season 1 episode Flying Fish, we hear about Professor Inkling's great-grandfather, who wrote about his discoveries in this book, but a page is missing. And because the Octonauts just so happened to be where he was when he was writing these pages, they go off to try and solve the mystery. In the next episode, Giant Squid, we hear even more about Professor Inkling's family. His distant cousin is the giant squid, the titular bitchular of this episode. And he's also related to the blue ring octopus, and his little cousins are firefly squids. Different species being related is also something we see in Peso's family. Peso's cousins are the Adelie penguins and the chinstrap penguins. I can't believe that's their actual name. It really does look like they have little chin straps. They look like they're going to explain Warhammer to my husband in a board game cafe and completely ignore me the entire time like I'm not even there. I don't like chin straps. Peso's close family is made up of his little brother Pinto, who we meet multiple times throughout the series, his older brother Pogo that was only mentioned once and we never see him, and his mother who wears glasses. When Peso's little brother Pinto visits for the first time, he is immediately dismissive of his brother's role in the Octonauts, instead wanting to hang out with Quasi because he's cool and adventurous. But at the end of the episode, Pinto looks up to and admires his brother too, because he was the coolest hero after all. Everyone say aw. Aww. In Season 3's Urchin Invasion, we meet Shellington's sister Pearl, who is also a researcher, and Shellington also meets his nephew Periwinkle for the first time. This is also when we learn that Shellington is allergic to sea urchins, and he admits this very ashamed because eating sea urchins is what otters do to protect the ecosystem. But Pearl assures him that he's helping the world as an Octonaut. Was this the reason he joined the Octonauts? Does he feel like a failure because he can't do his part as a sea otter? And the feeling of being out of place doesn't stop there. Sea urchin allergy and 3 gup crashes? Pick a struggle, dude. But for real, Shellington is relentless in his quest to not be an absolute ass driver. It feels like he's always trying to prove himself. In Season 4's Kelp Forest Mystery, we meet Dashi's little sister Koshé, the most competent kid in the whole series. Also, their sister dynamic is the sweetest. They want to write a book together. It's just so cute.
Now, how about finishing up our Donna Duxie readathon? I got a better idea. Instead of reading a mystery, let's write one. It's about 2 sisters who team up to solve cases. Little sister is the brains of the team.
And here's that same scene in British, if you even care. Oi, oi, and maybe we'll have a spot of tea when we're writing it. We learn about more family members in the specials, but before that, let's meet the legend with the biggest arc of all. In Season 1, Episode 38, Slime Eels, we hear about Calico Jack, Quasi's grandfather and also a phenomenal pirate he looks up to. In this episode, they search a shipwreck to find his grandpa's golden spyglass. Episode 45 of Season 1, Quasi finds a map on the back of a picture of his grandfather that leads him to Parrotfish Island, where a hidden record player plays Calico Jack's song. The Season 2 episode Coconut Crabs, we find a new treasure from Grandpa Calico Jack. It's hidden inside a nearly unbreakable coconut, because guess what? It was actually a cannonball. Inside was a note from Calico Jack to the coconut crabs for saving him many years ago. And Calico Jack also wrote in this note, "Keep a lookout for my grandson Quasi." Prior to this episode, I thought that Quasi was excited to learn about his grandfather through these little missions because they didn't get the chance to meet. But that headcanon is dead because Calico Jack was alive after Quasi was born. Also, fun fact, Calico Jack was an actual pirate and his love life was messy. It doesn't have anything to do with the Octonauts, but can I talk about it for a second? Can we headcanon that Quasi's grandfather was also like this? Actually, I can't say that with confidence because I'm not sure what else this man did, and pirates were known for, like, you know, crimes. But the love life, the love triangle thing. Calico Jack had 2 crew members, Mary Reed and Anne Bonny. Anne Bonny left her husband for Calico Jack. So Calico Jack knew Anne Bonny was a woman even though she was disguised as a man. At this point, he did believe that Mary Reed was a man. Until Bonny was attracted to Reed, which led to her admitting to Reed that she's a woman, and Mary was like, "Girl, I'm a girl too." And then I imagine they were like, ew, and then they slept together still. I believe that at this point onwards, they were a throuple. There was no evidence to point to that. But whatever, it was the 1700s. I can write a musical about them doing whatever I want them to do. 1721. How do 2 lady pirates who have to keep the fact that their ladies private fall in love, but they have to keep it quiet? In the Season 2 episode Flying Swords, we find out that Quasi is an amazing sword fighter. We see him battle against 3 swordfish to get to the treasure of the Pirate King. He did this to honor his grandfather Calico Jack, even exclaiming,
If only me granddad could be here to see it.
I noticed something by Season 3 when we heard about another legendary pirate, Whitebeard, who's also a cat. Every pirate we've seen in this show has been a cat. So here's the reveal you've all been waiting for. In the special Amazon adventure, Quasi finds a piece of a map that'll lead him to a hidden city in the Amazon. This was actually the last adventure Calico Jack went on before no one heard from him again. But guess what, motherfuckers? He's alive. He was just shipwrecked. Classic pirate shit. Anyway, the Octonauts meet up with Quasi and his grandfather for the first time.
We're related. There's 2 of them?
and Calico Jack invites his grandson Quasi to sail the seven seas with him. But Quasi politely declines, looking over at the Octonauts and saying that they're his crew. What a journey, I'm tearing up. What's next?
We're going on an adventure!
Let's start with the specials from the original run before we move on to the 2020 Netflix specials. In The Great Christmas Rescue, we meet another one of Professor Inkling's family, his little nephew Squirt. And we learn that he grew up in the Seamount, which is where they're all celebrating Christmas together. Tweak also invented the Gup X, which is indestructible. Except hers actually is. And it also has suction cup tires, a rescue line, and shoots slime. It might be my favorite Gup, in all honesty. Despite it looking a little bit like a tank. In the Great Arctic Special, the Octopod needs to be docked for repairs, and in the meantime, the Octonauts are going on vacation. This is when we meet Barnacle's twin sister Bianca, and he meets his niece and nephew Orson and Ursa. Pretty cool that Bianca had twins because, science fact, women who are fraternal twins are more likely to have fraternal twins. The polar bears take the cubs on their first ice float journey, but they're surprised to find just one ice float with a bunch of other polar bears that traveled really far distances, only to find this one ice float to rest at. This conflict's climax is when that ice float starts breaking apart, so the other Octonauts have to save them, proving that you're never off the clock when you're an Octonaut. But the whole global warming undertones of the special is never addressed directly. I think the polar bears need to unionize and stop letting the walruses push them around. Every time a walrus is shown on the show, they're so fucking mean, dude. The Mariana Trench adventure starts with them finishing construction on their brand new deep sea octo lab. Dashi and Shellington are going alone to study the Mariana Trench, and they're bringing Octobots that Dashi programmed, and they even programmed Vegibots to cook like the Vegimals do. The Vegibots are cursed, they can't do anything right, nothing can replace the Vegimals. Because Shellington and Dashi were going to study for a week away from the other Octonauts, I thought we'd see a bit of those adventures, or they'd be missing for the next couple of episodes, but that's not what ended up happening. We didn't hear any of their discoveries, they're gatekeeping it from us, and I understand why. In the Over-Under adventure, we see the Gup S, which has a narwhal-like drill. They are expanding this research facility so quickly. I'll have them explain the Gup S's features.
The Gup S is two Gups in one. It can explore over the ice and under.
Oh, that's why the special's named that. It goes over and under. Oh, and by the way, I'm learning about natural disasters for fish. These episodes stress me out in a way I didn't think they could. Have you ever heard of a barnacle? One of the other nicknames for this phenomena is called the finger of death. Imagine if one day you saw an icicle coming out of the sky, and then it instantly freezes the ground and everything and everyone around it.
Oh my
Look
God.
at this video of it. I have no reason to be scared of this. I will never encounter one, but I am shitting myself. The Operation Deep Freeze special opens with a polar bear named Tracker that greets Captain Barnacles with, "It's good to see you at the old post, sir." And Tracker is also really excited to meet the Octonauts. Tracker runs the Polar Scout emergency post, so Polar Scouts quite literally trained Barnacles for the Octonauts. And before Barnacles joined the Octonauts, he trained other Polar Scouts like Tracker. They got an alert at the Arctic post from another post in the Antarctic. So the Octonauts go to investigate and meet Professor Natquick. Back in the Polar Scout days, Natquick taught Barnacles how to do field research in the Arctic. So we see a mentor of Barnacles and a mentee of Barnacles. Is it just me, or does Natquick specifically look like he can be an Animal Crossing villager? Maybe it's just me, I don't know. Boom, 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 boom. Hey, how the fuck are you, sharks? So, my idea, pretty much Animal Crossing, but instead of farming and fishing and stuff, it's just us as the Octonauts saving animals and shit. Bidding starts at $5 million. Natquick called for help because his research center was going to fall into a massive crack. At the end of the episode, we see a month-and-a-half blueprint montage, and then Tweak gifts Natquick with the Gup I. The Gup I stands for ice. And also, I don't care. Either make all of the letters stand for something, or just make it random. The Gup I is equipped with solar panels, wind turbines, snow treads, and legs that can move the station up and down depending on how much snow there is. In the Great Swamp Search, the theme song changed to this banjo version that absolutely shredded. The crew got a distressed and distorted call from Ranger Marsh, who's Tweak's father. Tweak grew up with him in the Everglades, so Tweak is from Florida. This is the first appearance of the Gup K, which is an alligator-looking wind boat that can also turn into a monster truck. which is the most Florida thing to ever Florida. Tweek's dad explains the problem. There are creatures here that don't belong. Okay, actually that's the most Florida thing to ever Florida. Sad, depressing joke about shriveled up conservatives aside, what Ranger Marsh is actually talking about are invasive species. Duh. And as opposed to letting them die in a wildfire, Marsh called the Octonauts to save all of them and bring them back home. So he's a really nice guy. They're not gonna give Tweek daddy issues. Cowards. I do think this guy is still supposed to represent somebody who's out of touch but willing to change, because the entire special, he was downplaying all of Tweek's inventions, like, oh, I don't need this toy. And that could be seen as playful banter, or it could be seen as him undermining his daughter's abilities and skills because he doesn't understand them. So I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this guy. Now for the movie-length Netflix specials. In the caves of Sakaktoon, rather than going around South America to get this little octopus back home to the Caribbean Ocean, they are going over South America in the Gup H, which is a helicopter. But it crashes. Womp womp. The rest of the crew try and find and save Barnacles, Peso, and the little octopus in the brand new Gup G. This Gup also appeared in season 5, and unfortunately I can't find that episode anywhere. Back to the Gup G. It's modeled after a salamander and stomps its way through the jungle. The Gup G also features these quads. Dashi talks about her friend Ryla the Wombat and how good she'd be at finding her friends. Because Ryla is the best diver around. She even wrote a book about it. And Dashi took pictures for Ryla's book. Conveniently enough, Ryla was exploring the cave that Barnacles, Peso, and the little octopus named Koba were in. What are the odds? It is revealed that Captain Barnacles is afraid of tight spaces due to his childhood trauma. This gives us a rare vulnerable moment for him, but it just sucks that this was established after he's already been in tight spaces before with no problem. Anyway, did someone say new Gup reveal? No one said that. This is the Gup Q. It looks like a hammerhead shark. It uses echolocation to map out caves. I gotta hand it to them. Even though we're running out of letters, it's still really cool tech. It also has Q scooters that drive on land and water. All of these newer Gups are having baby Gups. Anyway, in conclusion, Dashi saves everyone by having the Gup Q go full piranha mode, chomping up all these falling rocks. Also, I'm operating off pure vibes here, but Dashi and Ryla are gay and in love. In the Ring of Fire special, while Tweek is repairing the other Gups, she offers the rest of the crew prototypes in the form of Gup Z 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're resorting to numbers now. This is Gup Pi. It launches Pi. No, that's the next special. I'm not fully joking. The main plot of Ring of Fire is that underwater tremors are causing a chain reaction of volcano explosions, and each pair of Octonauts makes a very action-packed escape. I struggle summing up action sequences like this. I don't want to sit here and be like, and then he ducked, and then they swam, and then explosion. If you want to figure out what happens step by step, just watch it. I don't feel like summarizing this. Okay, skipping to the end, the Gup Zs have a Z button that causes them to combine and form the Mega Gup Z. And the Octonauts Transformer saves the sea creatures from the biggest volcano yet.
Yeah, that's hot.
The musical episode, The Great Barrier Reef, starts with this coral polyp named Corey, and he's singing about how small he is.
How will a small little guy like me make it in this big city?
We see Gup W, it looks like a whale. It's a mobile medical base with nurse robots. The main plot is a huge group of crown of thorns starfish are coming to eat the entire coral reef, which is home to many creatures. So the Octonauts have to stop them. In song. Listen, I'm a musical lover, and I understand enjoying songs sung spontaneously during the most high-stakes part is the biggest form of suspending your disbelief, and I usually have no problem with that, but listen, this is the goofiest musical I've ever seen. Barnacles in every other episode would be like, stop guys, we need to focus, this is serious. There is no world where he would sing, we'll save the day with 1,000 pies. And that's actually what happens. 1,000 pies! Also, one more thing about this special that actually boggles my mind. Why was there a Vegimal in an Octonauts satellite at the end? And if they're going to casually throw that in there, can they at least follow it up with something equally as silly? Like, have the Vegimal be like,
Oops, I accidentally pushed the musical button. That's why this all happened. I'll make sure not to make that mistake again.
And damn right you won't. But let's finally talk about the Vegimals.
Look! What the fuck is this?
The Vegimals are nothing more than a cutesy joke in the books. They say they're all the same, which is very rude. The Vegimals in the TV show at first only speak Vegimalese, which only Shellington understands, but throughout the series they learn more English. Or whatever language you're watching the Octonauts in. The Vegimals have their own garden to grow seaweed because that's the main ingredient in most of the things that they cook and bake. They make food for the whole crew. In Season 2, Episode 6, Tunip's idea of having the bowhead whales free the narwhals from the ice is at first overlooked, but eventually once Tunip is heard, that's the plan they go with, and that's the plan that works. Tunip and the Vegimals are very smart and an essential part to the group. Tunip is even seen taking a more active role in missions, volunteering to help look for jawfish eggs in the next episode. In Season 2, Episode 16, we are made aware of the existence of Vegimal pox. They need red algae to make the medicine for this, but it falls into moray eels territory. So they enlist the help of Dr. Inkling's friend, a mimic octopus named Mortimer. Mortimer is theatrical and iconic. And Quasi hates being upstaged by him, which is very fun.
Show off.
I heard that.
Cheeky banter. Mortimer is so extra, even Captain Barnacles has notes.
Don't overdo it.
Sorry, this is the Vegimal section, but I just had to talk about him. In the special of Very Vegimal Christmas, when the Vegimals are preparing a Christmas meal, all the Octonauts get stuck in sea snot, which is apparently a real thing. Barnacles calls the Vegimals and asks them to watch a training video on how to deal with this exact situation. After the Vegimals struggle to operate separate Gups, they decide to build their own Gup. The Gup V. It's a train, so each of them operates a car and drives it as a team. In this special, they speak English more, and we learn more of the names other than Tunip. We have Barrett, Gruber, Tomino, and Coddish. There are even more names of Vegimals on the wiki, but I don't know where they got those from. But the most important thing we learned from this special is how Shellington found the Vegimals. He found the eggs growing off the side of the octopod and decided to take them in to study them and save them from predators. He said they looked like half animals and half vegetables, so he called them Vegimals. In Season 3, we see that Vegimals don't get hurt from jellyfish stings. In fact, it tickles them. In the Season 4 episode Baby Sea Turtles, we see the Vegimals saving the baby sea turtles by giving the predators fish biscuits to eat. Which begs the question, where did Vegimals get fish for the fish biscuits? People will argue that everything the Vegimals make is vegetarian, but they give these fish biscuits to deter predators from eating the fish. I personally believe the fish biscuits are made from fish that die of shock or physical injury in the medical bay. Peso's amazing, but he can't save them all. Oh my gosh, you ruined my childhood. Oh no. If that's what ruined your childhood, you had a fucking amazing childhood, I hate to tell you. Now that we've addressed the Vegimals, let's go even deeper. What are the Octonauts? At the end of The Only Lonely Monster, Dr. Inkling exclaims, "The Sea Monster Field Guide said the Architithis colosso nutopus." Oh, not a nutopus. Anyway, this thing is the only one of its kind in the entire ocean. So it turns out the title was not clickbait. The Octonauts comfort the giant creature by revealing things about themselves that make them unique and one of a kind. The most fascinating of which being Tweak glowing in the dark. And also this image. In the Season 3 episode Pelicans, we see a polar bear riding on a pelican's back. The Funko Pop build of these creatures is no coincidence. In both the book and the show, Peso has a closet full of bodysuits that just look like penguin skin. In the spin-off series we'll discuss later, we see other bears that have a completely different build than the polar bears. Why did polar bears evolve in this way? Well, in the Season 4 episode Walrus Pups, we learn about the Polar Scout badges. They are given for helping, exploring, and learning new skills. Captain Barnacles got every single one except for helping walruses because they're assholes and bullies. For those of you listening in the background, imagine Barnacles being the saint he is, just trying to help every chance he gets, only for him to get tossed around by these giant tusked turds. Anyway, you already know by the end he got a badge. But here's where this fits into my theory. I think the species that evolved to be person-shaped, walking on 2 feet with a giant head, are the species that think about other animals and help the most. It's almost as if they replaced humanity as the dominant species after we failed our mission of helping the planet. Yikes. Ouch. But to be fair, they're doing a great job, so I can't be mad. But here's the part of the video that I point out the mystical forces at play that are nowhere to be seen in the TV show. Let's read a bit of Sea of Shade. For centuries, I watched through my shadoscope as shadows were stepped on and ignored. It's not easy to follow someone around all day, but we never get any thanks. Thank you for following me around all day, I guess. I'm supposed to thank them for being a stalker? Everyone would be happier if we just lived in our own world. That is why I called all my subjects home to the Sea of Shade. Now compare that to the series where Professor Inkling definitively says unicorns aren't real, but Vegimals are? Yeah, okay. But they'll never sing that creature report. Fact, Vegimals are not real. You know why? Because they kept the big-headed Octonauts and the Vegimals for branding. It's adorable. It's attention-grabbing. I understand that. And I love that it's educational, but when you have a totally different look for some animals, it feels intentional. I know it's just to say, I'm the main character, but why? I think in the original book series, they would have expanded on that more. It wasn't tethered to our reality. In fact, in the original books, all the animals were evolved. Look, there's fish sleeping in beds. There's cities. There's cars. And look at that. Are those more Vegimal eggs? And sheepfish? The book's goofy world matched the goofy design. Now, I'm not poo-pooing science or animal facts. You know I love those. I just wish we could have magic and science in one. But I understand it might be difficult for kids to differentiate, but at the same time, you have Vegimals there, so... Before we move on to Octonauts Above and Beyond, I have to say, they've mentioned trash in the ocean and fishing, so those two sound like very human things, but I don't know. I really don't know if there are humans in the Octonauts world. If they are, they avoid them at all costs. Probably a good choice.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
Episode 1, the Octopod crashes and we meet a monkey named Pawnee who needs to help thirsty animals. The end of the episode establishes the new big team that this series is centered around. Captain Barnacles uses the Octo Agent Alert system to contact their new agents from around the world who will call on the OG Octonauts when they need help. We have Pawnee, who we just met, Pearl, Swimmington's sister, which is very sad if you believe my theory. Just eat sea urchins and stay in your lane, alright? Let him have this one thing. We also have Tracker, the polar bear from the Arctic, Nat Quick from the Antarctic, Calico Jack, Marsh from Florida, and Min, a red panda we've never met that apparently plays a huge role in Season 5. According to the Octonauts wiki, Min met Inkling when he was stuck in bamboo and she saved him. And she's also a map maker. She sounds awesome, Season 5 sounds fun, but where's Ryla? She should have been here from the start. This is bullshit. There is now also an Octo Ray that Dashi flies. They're investing way more in flying and land tech. There's a new Octo Report song, and even though the vocals are very good, I just miss the focus on the new animals they've met.
Check it out. Methane gas.
Yeah, methane gas. More like stinky ass. Where are the animal facts? Where's the dance circle? Gup R was seen at the end of Beetle Invasion, but it apparently debuted in Season 5. According to the wiki, it is said to be the second fastest Gup, with Gup B being the first. Oh, so it's useless. Some comments also say that it can shoot a grappling hook from its nose. I actually ended up finding the episode on YouTube, and I just have to rant. Quasi is so pissy about the Gup R. He is so protective and defensive over the Gup B. Anytime someone mentions the Gup R, he's like, well, it's not as good as mine. The B in Gup B stands for baby boy. Because this is my baby boy, and no one will steal his thunder. The reality is, he thinks the Gup R is very cool, and I don't know if he feels like he's betraying the Gup B by admitting that to himself. Back to Above and Beyond, there are actually 2 more seasons of Above and Beyond. 4 seasons in total. Only 2 are available in my country. The Octonauts hate the United States. Which, you know what, fair. But look what I found on the wiki. This is Selva. She's an iguana and a botanist. We've seen iguanas throughout the series and they've never looked like that. Which just adds to my theory. According to the wiki, there's also a fan theory that she may know more about the Vegimals since she works with plants a lot. And I love that. If I had to guess where the Vegimals came from, because I have this evolution theory, maybe when the eggs landed on the octopod, whatever the octopod is made out of caused this genetic fusion or transformation. Maybe they were just regular fish eggs, but the octopod made it evolve with them. I don't know, but I think she has the answers. I'm gonna be honest, Above and Beyond kinda lost me, as there is way less barnacles in this season. Dashi steps into the spotlight, taking a new leadership position as the pilot of the Octoray. A lot of these episodes is just smaller groups going on missions. I'm happy for her, don't get me wrong. I just miss barnacles. Captain, oh Captain, you are my new dad. Dashi's doing well, she's not doing bad. But I just miss you in the good old days. Above and Beyond, more like don't go away. Episode 4 is the first appearance of Terra Gup 1. There are many Terra Gups for land travel. In the Devil's Hole Pufferfish episode, we learned that Shellington's nephew, Periwinkle, is in the Otter Scouts, which connects to my superior species who evolved through their desire to help theory. In episode 5, Dashi's little sister Koshi becomes the first junior Octo agent.
Check it out.
Check it out! Desert flooding! Ugh, it's just not as good as Creature Report. In episode 6, Peso's little brother Pinto also becomes a junior Octo agent. I think it's because he met Koshi, and Koshi kind of spilled the beans that she's a junior Octo agent. Because if he didn't know what a junior Octo agent was, I'm not sure if they would have offered it to him. They want to be encouraging of the kiddos, but Pinto isn't, how do I say this nicely, helpful? Terragup 2 is able to roll into a ball like an armadillo, as seen in episode 7. Episode 7 is also the first time barnacles went on a mission in this series. That took way too long. In the episode Bamboo Rescue, we even see how restless Barnacles is getting as his crew needs him less and less. The Octonauts now have multiple task forces working independently. A totally different vibe from the first series, where everyone would drop everything to save the same animal, or sometimes their own dang teammates. It seems like they've grown a lot since then. In episode 9, The Golden Mole, they're training Tracker in the Sahara Desert. And when he points out, I'm stationed in the Arctic, what am I doing here? Dashi and Quasi explain that he needs to be ready for anything, which I kinda hate, because I thought the whole point of the agents were to report trouble wherever they are. Not that they would be summoned to help with problems. That's the Octonauts' job. That's not an agent's job. What is the difference now? There is no differentiation. If Tracker's going to be part of the team, you might as well have him stay on the Octopod. This show has so much content, I might do a follow-up to this video one day in the form of a lore light, especially if more information is released about the Vegimals. I love these little freaks. Who's your favorite character? Let me know. Also, my birthday's May 4th, just wanted to let you know. Maybe subscribe? Tell your friends to subscribe? As like a little birthday gift to me? I don't know. Thank you so much to Scentbird for sponsoring this video. Again, that's Athena55 for 55% off your first month at Scentbird. Have a great day, butt lovers. Bye!